Noticing that drow woman approaching him, he will turn and first of all glare at her, since Zyn is definitely behaving in a way that says that he'd rather not, have that whole party thing going on right now. But then he'll be curious. And yeah, she has pupils. Oh, how peculiar.
Peculiar.
And he'll turn to her and say, "Excuse me."
She makes a bow towards him and says, "Greetings, my lord. Am I correct in assuming that I am speaking to Zyn Vytharia?"
You are indeed.
Marshal of this realm, yes?
The not.
Excellent. She flashes a smile. "My lord, I am Adventure Captain Arana Diz. And I come here with, first of all, I will say that it is an impressive building you have constructed." She motions towards the cathedral.
It's impressive in multiple ways, yes.
Yes, I will confess that I did not recognize the deity to which it is, dedicated. But I have understood that the deity is a patron of the House of Vytharia.
Well, that she is, and that she is unknown by most is not surprising, but that, I assume, will soon change.
Oh, yes, I imagine it will. She smiles a quite coy smile. She has perfect white teeth. And she turns to him again and says, "As I said, my lord, I am Arana Diz, and I am here on, business, let's say."
Business?
Yes, I represent certain interests, and those interests, and by extension my own, are currently being focused here on this part of the Asathir.
Go on.
We assumed for a long time that there was nothing down here but wilderness, and I pushed for an expedition. He smiles. And, my surprise was great indeed when I found not only deep gnomes, but also, the mushroom people, as well as a budding drow barony down here. Our old maps are woefully inadequate, it seems.
Well, things have changed rather drastically in the past few years in here, and I suspect they will keep changing.
Yes, that is quite interesting indeed. She looks around. Yes, the beginning of something big here, perhaps. Well, let me then cut to the chase. She smiles. I would like to operate out of your kingdom here, my lord. Basically, what this would entail is that me and my group, we are what you would call explorers, hunters for the rare and the archaic. Archaeologists, perhaps.
And you would like to be independent, I take it?
Our organization has always worked within the borders of different kingdoms and rulers, my lord. We pride ourselves on our independence, yes. We also pride ourselves not to make trouble for the government, unless the government makes trouble for us. She smiles. What I am proposing then is, as I said, a business proposition. You, as the lord of the realm, and more specifically the lord of the lands, you are in charge of the patrolling and the protection and the scouting of these lands, I have come to understand. And with your permission, I would request that you allow us to operate within your borders and without them, passing to and fro as we please. In return, she says, holding up a hand, we can assist your government in exploring different areas you would wish to explore, perhaps. We are quite skilled. And we have seen many dangers. We can go where your normal troops would not be able to. If you have any troops. She looks around.
Our defenses are adequate, don't you worry. But yes, your proposal interests me. You will understand that I can't make the decision right on the spot. There are things to consider, implications and such. But I'm interested, if that's enough for you for now.
Yes, well. Then I have made my proposal. Is there anything you would ask of me right now regarding this?
Other than sticking around for another day or two until I can make up my mind on this, just enjoy the sightseeing, I suppose.
She smiles. Oh, I do tend to stick around, my lord.
Other than that, I have nothing yet for you to consider. I just need to think about your offer. It certainly is interesting.
I see then. Very well. We will be around, indeed. She sort of thinks. As I recall it, I didn't actually see any taverns or inns in this settlement as of yet. A bit of a bother, I gotta say. But then again, we are used to live off the land if that is what is required. We will be around.
Zyn actually smiles slightly at this. Oh, I think there was a pavilion somewhere here. I'm sure it can be used. I'm sure it contains alcohol too.
She smiles and looks at him. She winks a bit. Oh, I know of that pavilion, my lord. The activities of that place is well known in the settlement.
Yeah, I'd imagine so. But yes, there's no tavern yet.
She shrugs. Oh, well. Perhaps that is also something we could assist you in, constructing. He smiles. My people do enjoy their taverns.
I can imagine. Well then, I have to continue my... Then just makes a weird hand gesture because he doesn't actually know what he's doing right now. So, excuse me.
One more thing, my lord, if you please. Is it true that there are a lot of old gnomish ruins on the center isle of this great lake? She motions out over the water.
Perhaps.
She nods slowly. I see. Very well. I think we shall investigate that at some point. Ruins are fascinating, after all.
I'm sure they are. And then we'll turn to leave to walk around and look at suspicious people again. And hopefully not get surprised by random drow women again.
She stalks into the masses of people again.
Left turn towards Zyn. You know what Rilinid's paranoid about? Zyn talking to people. You know, and ending a nice little conversation with the alchemist, you know, him with like an awkward, sort of like massive, like huge handshake with like the medium-sized hand. One of those awkward, like custom, you know, traditions that people on the surface practice. So weird, so fascinating. And then just the creepy, you know, the creepy mask, the quartz and sapphire mask, then heading right for Zyn. On the bright side, I'm not a drow woman.
Well, Zyn doesn't know with the mask and all. Who knows what happened in the Herald's chamber there? Anyways, seeing Rilinid approach rather quickly, I would assume, Zyn's going to turn around and say, "Did anything happen? You look upset."
Rilinid blinks behind the mask.
Zyn shrugs. You are behaving upset at least. Or who knows? It's hard to tell.
Why are you talking to people?
Why am I talking to people?
Yes.
We are on a... This is supposed to be diplomatic and stuff, isn't it? I figured talking to people would be part of the...
Yes, diplomatic and stuff. There being the problem. You've never been good with others. You don't play nice.
Frowns. I haven't shot her, have I? So clearly things went well. She is
Rilinid,
she's from a league of explorers who had an offer for me.
Rilinid worries about how easy it is to have Zyn just spill out everything at the drop of Rilinid tells us, did you introduce yourself to her wealth?
No. That would hardly be diplomatic, would it?
Rilinid looks down at the fucking, like, knocked bow. Back up as in, that has never stopped you before. I've seen how Zyn diplomacy works. He tells us that, in the future, you would be best to direct anyone seeking to talk to you, to me, or Alauneari.
Her and my interests aligned. We have the same intentions, so she talked to the person who is responsible for the things she needed to talk about. I don't see nothing wrong with that. If you're scared about me giving away the kingdom to some random drow people, then be assured that I have not made a decision on anything yet. And if you want to talk to her, feel free.
Oh, I am not scared. I have little interest in cleaning up after messes. Besides, you're not the person who enjoys talking with people anyway. Rilinid tilts the mask. Interesting that you would be so fascinated in this case.
As I said, we had similar interests, which is rare, which is why you might think I don't like talking to people. I don't like talking to people who I don't like.
You had similar interests. Yes, I'm sure that is a completely accurate assessment after speaking with an individual for less than several minutes.
You know what? If you want to talk to her, go ahead, but leave me alone. I'm not in a good mood. I swear I will not talk to more people that lets you sleep at night.
Don't worry, I have enough trouble sleeping without your assistance.
Tell me about it.
I don't need to.
Yes. Can I continue now?
Rilinid looks to left and right. You have never needed my permission, brother, nor did I think you ever needed to ask.
Exactly. And then stalks off.
Rilinid offers a glower as Zyn leaves. He shakes his head, thinking, he is going to be the death of this entire family. If Trislin isn't. If Alauneari isn't. If Rae'nkalar isn't. Well, let's see what this gets Rollo doing. He swerves and goes back to glad handing.
You also notice that the Dwergar seems to also be a little bit by himself. He seems to have done some talking with the master of the tower, but for now he seems to be more or less standing in a corner, looking grumpy as all Dwergar tend to do when eating, glaring about at all the drow.
Yes, such a fascinating experience that Dwergar would willingly choose to move towards a drow kingdom. Yes, I will save him for last. It's like one of like the fucking RP chat rooms. Someone just walks into like a pavilion / tavern / gala / festival, gets some food or orders a drink and just sits brooding in a dark corner alone.
Yep.
Just hoping that someone will take the chance and interact with them. Like Zen. That's what he was calling out for.
While that is going on about its guest Rahal, Ivy approaches Rae'nkalar. Behind her, there seems to be a deep gnome following.
Enjoying the festival?
Oh yes, most assuredly, my lord. She looks around. She sort of steps aside and makes a motion, and the gnome steps forward a bit nervously. And she waves at him. This is Belwys Seamfinder, my lord. He is a representative of, the Deep Gnome community. As at least that is what he calls himself. She, shoots a look at him. He wished to speak with the High Priestess, but I do not see her here. Do you know where she is?
Rain looks around for a moment. Stops. I would not know exactly. Possibly in her quarters, meaning you would not be able to reach her at this moment.
She, she shoots a glance over to the gnome. Sort of, she shrugs. The gnome sort of stammers a bit and says, "But my lord," he looks up at Rilinid, or not Rilinid, Rae'nkalar. I have a request for her.
A request specifically for our priestess.
Yes, my lord. It is a beautiful and dreadful building you have constructed. He motions towards the cathedral, and surely the Queen of Darkness and Secret Agaris will be much pleased by this edifice, no doubt. But my lord, that is the faith of the highborn, the nobles, and those in positions of power. The people, my lord, do not necessarily flock to Agaris. They seek other spiritual fulfillment, and that is why I am here.
I see.
We wish to establish the faith of the Great Burrower, my lord. He has always been the protector of the Deep Gnome people.
I see. Well, without Tristan around, until she decides to come out of her quarters, the next best person to speak to on the matters of faith within the towns would be the Duchess.
Ivy makes a grimace at this, and looks around and says, "I don't see the matron either, my lord."
Interesting how she doesn't. She's probably inside the cathedral.
Belwys Seamfinder seems to sort of wring his hands and look around. He looks rather pathetic.
Alauneari will, there's been some time. She'll appear out of the cathedral, walking in her grandeur, majesty of her wonderful dress. Cost more than most of these people have ever seen before.
If Rain looks over and sees her, just like, Ivy? Belwys? Gestures to follow.
She'll sort of stand on the stairs up to the cathedral, looking out over the crowd. Trying to spot Rilinid and her family.
Rilinid is currently engaged in conversation with the White Spider, it seems.
Oh.
It is not very difficult to spot that fucking mask.
She sort of her blinded for a round because of the glitter of his necklace.
Yes,
so shiny.
She sort of looks down at Rae'nkalar. Her eyes she currently seems to feel very high and mighty about herself.
Rain clearly notices this on arriving and kind of gives like a formal bow in a way.
Ivy does the same, and Belwys Seamfinder behind tries his best, although he's not very skilled at it.
Alauneari sort of wrinkles her nose a little. She looks down upon the little gnome. As a general,
Yes. It seems this gnome, Belwis Seamfinder, I believe his name was. He has come on representation of some of the gnome people in what was going to be a plea to the High Priestess, but she has decided not to show herself.
It seems that she has withdrawn due to spiritual needs.
So I thought best the next person to try and understand the spiritual needs of the people would be the Duchess herself. Kind of
The
giving
needs of the people, especially the spiritual, are always my concern. I am a good and gracious ruler, am I not? She looked at the two gnomes.
Ivy does a bow towards her, and Bellicine finally takes like a half scared step forward and basically throws himself on the ground in front of her.
He gives sort of a satisfied smile, seeming quite smug about the whole situation.
He stammers, "Dread and powerful matron, please hear my plea."
Brother, what is your position doing introducing me to sniveling gnomes? Have you nothing better to do?
I was at the time speaking to...
It was rhetorical. Look at them. Now then, Mr. Seamfinder, what is your plea? What do you beg of the Queen of Darkness?
He stammers and says, "Terrible and powerful matron, please. The people... Your cathedral is a grand monument. Something like this has never been seen before in the Azathoth. And Agares is mighty indeed." He sort of, bows to the ground. "But the people, powerful matron, this faith scares them, and they tie themselves to what they know. The faith of the great Burrower, dread matron." He sort of bows again.
The grand what?
The grand Burrower.
Yeah, he asks him.
No. It is the faith for centuries upon centuries of the deep gnomes, matron. Agares is the faith of the high and powerful, the nobles, and those of the family. He sort of bows even bigger, basically as deep as he can against the ground.
Yes.
We are not worthy to worship her like you do, matron. That is why I ask of you this grand favor. Please allow the people to worship the great Burrower.
Sort of looks at him, slowly a smile growing as she looks to Ivy. She looks back to him. And you come from the gnome community, you said. Then I suppose I should tell you of our grand plans for that community. It is true that many of you do not know Agares as we do. However, we have a society where we put equality, he says, sort of with a, putting pressure on it, as an ideal in our society. And as such, I see no reason for why one of your stature, small as it is, wouldn't be allowed to walk the halls of the cathedral. Looks to Rain. Come, Belwis. Come and experience the grandeur of Agares. I'm sure it'll give you a good perspective on the request you've made and the need for it.
The gnome looks appropriately terrified.
She'll sort of gesture for him to go in to the cathedral.
He seems to be frozen in fear.
Says, "Come, you would not refuse the matron's invitation, would you?"
He seems to... He shakes visibly as he sort of picks himself up from the ground. Takes like another half step forward up the stairs. Looking positively terrified.
She sort of gestures for Rain to basically walk behind him, keep him moving at a decent pace. She doesn't have a whole lot of time for this. She walks in. Ivy, you can come too.
Ivy looks upon the cathedral. Seems to mumble something under her breath and stalks after.
Rain will give a subtle sorry look to Ivy.
Alauneari will lead them into the inner, into the sort of outer area of the cathedral where the altar is and such. Probably
Sure.
still sort of bloody and whatnot.
Sure.
She'll look to the six paths and look at him and says, "So, Belwas, philosophical question, you being the religious sort, I'm sure you enjoy this. If you do not know what is behind six doors, how do you pick which one you wish to go into?"
He looks at the different doors and slowly shakes his head and says, I do not know, matron.
Then how do you make any choices about the future? For truly you do not know how anything will turn out, do you?
I use my best judgment based on past events, matron.
So, given your knowledge of past events, which one of these tunnels in the cathedral would you choose to brave?
Yeah, he looks at them. Seems to consider. And then he just shakes his head slowly.
There seems to be a difficult answer to give when you have very little experience, does it not?
He doesn't say anything, just looks more and more terrified.
He says, I then, as the Duchess of this realm, invite you to pick one and enter it. Upon your return, I will again listen to your plea and take it into great consideration.
He swallows.
About this, I give you my word. He smiles. Oh, and if you find the High Priestess in there, you can ask her personally as well. Tell her I sent you.
Takes a few steps forward to one of the pathways. Looks behind him. They're terrified, and then sort of staggers into one of them, disappearing around the corner.
And there he looks to Ivy and says, it is a fascinating place.
I'm sure, matron, she says.
I think if we see him again, he should have a rather new perspective.
She looks down the corridor, disappeared, and says, no doubt, matron.
Smiles at Ivy. Has Rilinid taught you anything about Agaris?
She looks up at her and says, he has told me the basics, I would assume.
Good. I think you would enjoy the faith.
She looks into the tunnels. Perhaps another time, matron. I am under strict orders to, work the crowd. She smiles.
Of course, Ivy. You have shown yourself to be rather useful. I would not want to waste your talent.
Much appreciated, matron, she bows.
Thank you for bringing this matter to me, Rain. I must return to the party now.
Same as I.
She'll shake her head slightly. She'll be dead before there'll be any temple to the Great Burrow.
And if he survives, maybe he'll have a changed perspective about this whole
Maybe
Great
he
Burrow
will
thing.
be a great priest for the
Yeah.
Great Burrow then, yes.
How could you send Belwas in there? He looks so adorable. Like, you just zoom into that picture.
You know,
You might not even see him again, so.
adorable just makes Alauneari want to hurt things. Because they're tiny and helpless and useless.
Yes, tiny, helpless, useless. All of those things.
Ivy slides up next to Rilinid.
And they will sort of step out, walk slowly down the stairs. Anyone who is good enough to talk to her will approach her.
Hilda, looks down at Ivy, finishing the conversation. Breathes
Ivy doesn't look too happy.
Really breathes in. You smell like Alauneari.
She looks over to the white spider and now bows, and the white spider sort of moves away a bit to give you some privacy. Seemingly talking to someone else.
Yes. Had to end my fascinating conversation on just how do you manage all those appendages at once? Yeah.
Just I wouldn't. I can barely manage what I have. I mean,
Look, I have like 2 arms, and those are hard enough to focus on. I mean, I'm pretty smart, but